Let's get going. Okay, it's 5 o'clock, so we're going to call the meeting to order. And the first item up on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Everybody should have it on their screens in front of them. Any changes or additions, anything done? No.
So moved, Chair.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have an agenda and approval of the minutes. If you'll click on that, 3.1. Let's see how many. Well, you may have to do it without me. I'm not sure my computer's going to work tonight.
There are 4 files.
Yeah, there's 4 different files, and hopefully you've had time already to look over those. So, okay.
I'm going to recuse myself from the February 21st.
Okay, Lisa's got that. Anyone else?
I feel like I'm going to recuse, but I can't get this thing to open up.
I think we're having a computer glitch tonight.
Yeah, I think we are
Because
too.
mine's not working just right either, but I see something on the screen.
Okay.
So we have 4 over here. What's the board's pleasure?
Move approval. Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second with noted Butch, and you have that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we are now going to move directly into the non-action or no action. And the first item up is Imagine presentation by, I think, Cynthia Crane.
Yep.
Welcome.
Alex Mann.
And who?
Dr. Alex.
Okay, and Alex Mann. Sorry about that.
That's all right. The reason why Cynthia is going to give the presentation is because I have a bad cold and my voice is, I'm losing my voice. So she's going to give the presentation, and if there are any other technical questions, I will try and address them. But in order to preserve my voice, I'll have Cynthia explain what we're trying to do.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is
Good
Cynthia Crane. I'm the director of the Fossil Museum in Aurora. And just recently, the Fossil Museum collaborated with East Carolina University and Potash Corp. Aurora and applied and received and was awarded a Burroughs Welcome SSEP grant, which is a Student Science Enrichment Program grant, to put STEM-based summer science camps into Aurora for the Snowden School children. And it's a 3-year grant. So we're going to start with the Snowden children and then expand it into Beaufort County. So the children will be able to experience hands-on science activities and projects with scientists of their peers, mentors, as well as people from Potash, engineers and everything. So Alex gave me his presentation, so I'm going to try to get through it. So the motivation is, of course, what I just said, is the Aurora Fossil Museum, East Carolina University, have a Burroughs Welcome Grant. And let's see. And it's called Imagine NC. It's integrating mathematics and geology in Eastern North Carolina.
And we have it on our screen. It's not that we're not turning around.
Okay. I was wondering about that.
We're following you right. Okay.
So what it does is it implements two 1-week non-residential science camps. 1 week will be for middle school age children, and the next week will be for elementary school age children. We also have 4 weekend sessions planned with parents and the children in various parts and aspects of Eastern North Carolina, as well as the faculty and professors from East Carolina University, as well as student teachers and other teachers will be working with the children and the teachers in Snowden to help develop and implement more of the science and math bridge into the classroom.
Okay.
So one of the components is to have a groundwater project and a groundwater monitoring project, which Dr. Manda will be implementing. It'll be his part of the project. And it requires to have 3 groundwater monitoring wells installed. And we were discussing this with Catherine Tahaney at the school, and we come up with an idea of having the wells installed on school ground, so that Judy Cleary, the middle school science teacher, would be able to utilize that in little activities during the school year. And they would be right there on site. So this is why we're here tonight, is to seek approval for those groundwater monitoring wells. I'm hitting everything. Okay. So as you look at your screen, some of the activities that Dr. Manda is going to develop with the children to do is monitoring water levels. These will be shallow wells, and they'll do calculations so they can see how water flows underground. They'll also have models to use. What do we call them? groundwater models that the children can actually use on tabletop to see water flow. And then they can go out in the field and then do the test results and get the results as well. So it'll be a multifunctional, multifaceted project for these children to learn about water and how water is restored into the system, how it's removed in wells. So the proposed locations, if you see there, it's in a block. It's on the school grounds behind the playground. And let's see. So the proposed well locations are, as if you can see them, the well field, there'll be 3, and then they're marked in yellow on your screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. And then what will happen is students from the geology department of East Carolina University will come out with Dr. Manda. The well coring drill apparatus is on the back of a truck, so it's no big, major equipment coming onto the ground. It's a small truck with the drill rig attached to the back. And so that's, as you see in the picture, that's how they install the well. It's a small well. The diameter may be 1 inch to 3 inches at max. So it's about a hole about that big around in the ground at the maximum. It could be smaller. And so as you look at the pictures, they install a well in the open hole as they drill, and then they complete it. So the students at East Carolina will be installing this as an activity for their education as well as supporting the project. And then they'll test it to make sure the well's working right, and they're getting water reads. And what else do I need to add to that?
Monitor one of those for a long time, which will be the best thing if
So by installing the wells, they can get a long record to develop a baseline, so that through the 3-year project, the students can use the data that they've already collected the previous year to apply it to the following years. And then the teacher can also have that data to use in her classroom. So they can look at rainfall and different things, how the water would rise with rainfall, and the water, if we had a drought project, they could go down and look and see the water changing underground right there at their school. And the completed well, like if you can see between the 2 students, it's a little black bar that's up above ground. State requires that it's above ground, but it can be flush but there's more permitting done for that. But it would just be, if you see by the tree, you can see the monitoring well. So it's not taking up a big footprint. It's not a big, terribly looking structure, and it'll be there for the teachers to use and the project to use.
Okay.
So we seek approval. Here's the time frame for approval. So with the school board's blessing, we will start to submit to the state for all the different permits that we need in order to do this. And any questions?
How deep does it go?
We're not certain at the moment, but we need to do some reconnaissance, and that will require punching some holes into the ground to determine that. And so once we get approval, we'll determine how deep the water table is, and then we'll determine how deep the wells will be. My estimate will be not more than 15 feet deep.
Not more than 15 feet deep. What they'll do is once they get the permits, they'll do a little test holes, not bring in the big well digger. They'll do those small test holes, probes, to look and see how deep they have to go. But it's going to be the minimum depth that they have to go. They're not going to do a big deep core.
It won't take long to get water.
Stan, do we have any utilities in that area that we need to be concerned with?
I went down with Dr. Commander and we looked at the site and everything's there.
Okay. Still good idea to have locating service locate anything out there?
That's what I told him, once it was approved, I would handle get that located. Make
Okay.
sure that all of our utilities run around the road, and most of it comes in the front of the property to the whole plant.
Okay.
And that's one part of the permitting process, is to make sure there's nothing that they're going to hit
Okay.
and have that cleared.
I can't tell from this picture, but for the most part, what's coming up out of the ground looks fairly simple. So is it tamper-proof, or is it possible for a student or a visitor or somebody that's there that's not supposed to be there, is it possible that they could damage this if, I mean, I can't see what's on top. Is it just capped on top?
Does it have a lock on it or something?
So the black thing that you see is a metal casing, and that metal casing is grouted in cement, and so it's pretty rigid in the ground.
Okay.
If you were to damage it, you'd have to drive over it, and the students will not be able to damage it. Additionally, the well is going to be locked. You have a lock on it, and then you get the
Good,
key.
that's what I needed to hear, okay.
It'll be secured and, so that there can be.
Just as soon
And
as
no
we
stiff.
think, yeah, just as soon as we think that they can't, it's amazing how they find a way to mess with something.
This is next to the playground.
That's right.
Could a student just playing and run into it?
The playground is fenced.
Gotcha, that's all I needed.
It just sits
It's on
outside
the
there.
outs,
It's
it's
on the
away from the
outside.
playground.
Okay.
Okay, looking down the road, once this project is through,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
you got these little stub concrete pipes sticking up out of the ground. Can they be taken care of, cut off at the ground?
They can be sealed.
So we'd have to abandon the well. There's a procedure.
That's what I'm wanting to
Yeah,
know.
and they can be sealed
So,
off.
At that stage, we can have the discussion if the teachers feel like this is something that's valuable to them. At the end of the day, the people that are going to own the wells, I just facilitate the process, but then the person that will be signing the permits, it might be Stan or maybe another representative, that person will own the well. So the school will own the well technically. So we can have that discussion at the end of the project, whether you want to continue having the wells on property or whether we can abandon the wells. If you don't want them, we can go through the process of abandoning the wells where we cut them and then fill them up with bentonite clay and then seal the top so that you cannot see them on the surface.
But they would also belong to the school system, so if the science teachers are still finding
Exactly.
a use for them, they can remain at no cost to us.
Yes.
That's right.
So, but they can be sealed, I know that.
Yeah, and if, like he said, if there's after the project's over and there's no desire for the use of them, we'll have them taken care of and sealed off and everything, abandoned, so.
Are your students at East Carolina going to be coming and going on this project?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and we're going to have student teachers from East Carolina too out there helping with the students and everything. So it's become a really big project, which is exciting.
Yes, very much
It's
so.
a lot of components.
Anybody have any other concerns? If not, what we'll do is, it was brought to us as a non-action item. So we'll just put it on the next meeting, we'll come up for a quick vote, and unless I don't see any too much objections.
No, I thought they were, I know it's on non-action, but on their
We'd have to move it down to an action item.
approval from board to go ahead with the
So can y'all
project.
wait till the 21st?
Of this month? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this month.
I mean, the very next meeting we have, is that the next meeting we have? We'll just put on there for a quick vote, and someone call you, and it should be fine.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
the presentation.
Thank y'all.
So that brings us to Mr. Gregg, Title I discussion. Thanks again.
I prepared a couple of additional scenarios at your request and sent those out to Lisa and Dr. Phipps and actually emailed, and I think Lisa has paper copies of those for you. And one of them was a variation of an original scenario, and one was an additional scenario. And they are fairly self-explanatory, but I'd be glad to speak on them as much as you'd like. One of them, one of the scenarios is, of course, for Title I, maintaining all pre-K, maintaining all 7 of the Title I schools that are currently Title I, including Bath, and adding Chapel Middle and P.S. Jones, but at the lowest possible per pupil allocation per child, which is B.2. And then revision F is maintaining all pre-K, maintaining all 7 elementary schools, and adding only Chocowinity Middle and not P.S. Jones. And on the second side of each revision is where you see the difference in what the school's allocation would be. And then under the purple column, there's it says what is gained or lost under each additional scenario that you had requested.
Anyone have any questions? We're not approving it tonight anyway.
No, sir.
Any
because-
questions?
Right. This is based on if these scenarios are based on current year dollars if we had been in the current FY17
Don't even
year.
really know what dollars are yet anyway.
No, sir, and unfortunately, every year, we used to find out by the end of March, and now it's only the second week of May, or third week. But what I can do is, as soon as I know what that planning allotment would be, I can begin work, and I can bring multiple scenarios to you again in hopefully the May time frame or early June, based on actual FY18 dollars. And I can use these same scenarios.
This just gives us an idea.
Yes, sir.
Well, once again, I'm only one person, but I'll be awful surprised if scenario PS Jones and CMS passes the muster around here. And both of them. Because you lose too many teachers across the board.
And in that scenario,
Division
we're
F.
funding as low as that.
Right.
And we can't go below northeast.
I know you need to know as soon as possible, but what's the latest date we can let you know?
I mean, I can turn the application around pretty quickly. It's supposed to be submitted by June 30th. There are scenarios sometimes in which some districts do request extensions due to extraordinary or extenuating circumstances.
So we could wait up to that deadline. I know, don't even look at me like that one.
You're making my
Mark-
heart pound.
I know. But I mean, I know.
Please don't
I
make
just
that.
hate to make decisions based on money we don't know about.
Correct. And what I generally do is, once I know we go ahead and we have a stakeholders meeting that we'll have in April, in which we invite principals and teachers and members of the community to come and talk about it, and they're allowed to give input. But as I've always said, the final decision rests with the board. I take their input, and then I come up with scenarios, and then I work with Dr. Phipps, and then we bring, in the past, there's been many years where we brought one scenario. There was one year, a few years ago, we brought 3 scenarios. But I can bring as many scenarios, and in the past, it's happened over a couple of meetings. Like in one meeting, it was a non-action item where we shared scenarios. We got input from you, and then we came back as an action item and had a scenario that we thought that the majority of the board would want to review. And if it is earlier, I can start on it earlier.
I understand.
That makes my work easier. It makes Mr. Doan's work much easier as well. And I'll advocate with the powers to be to Raleigh to let us know as soon as we can. But I don't see it really changing. But just as soon as I find out what our actual planning allotment will be, hopefully it will not be very much different from the $2 million we received this year. And if it's not that different, we would just have to plug in the variations or changes in teacher salaries and hospitalization and retirement. But if it were a situation where we had a rather large decrease in the planning allotment, it, of course, will make it more difficult. And we don't know until we receive it what it will be.
I understand. I don't want to quickly make a decision because all of these scenarios have major impacts on some of those schools. And I don't want to make a quick decision on that if possible.
Maybe we'll have a nice surprise and we'll have an increase in the allocation. That makes everyone's job easier.
That would work.
I'm trying to be optimistic, but I also live in the real world.
That's right. Don't count on that happening.
Thank you.
Don's got a comment.
I think it pays to be prudent and to take our time to look at things, but there are some pieces to the puzzle that we have to do our local, or to do the state and local budget. We don't know yet what our low wealth number looks like. We don't know yet what the projected number for ADM is. The other piece that's going to come into play with this, I think, and Mark and I were talking earlier today, when we look at class size reduction, it's possible that we have to add some positions at schools, so there may be a net gain of or loss of 0. It may wash itself out. The problem with that is there's a price tag associated with that. We've got to figure out a way to get that worked out. So there are lots of unanswered questions, and I feel uncomfortable as we move into March knowing the little amount that we do, but we don't need to make decisions without having all the information on the table. So I think this gives you something to think about, and then as we continue to have the discussions about how we cobble the budget out, we can talk about these in greater detail.
And I'll have, I'll know a little bit more about where I think I'm gonna go at the end of this meeting, because I'm gonna have a discussion with someone else a little later in the meeting that might give me some light on a few subjects. And you know what my concern, I don't like this. I don't like either one of these either. I don't like any scenarios we've had. But I just cannot, and you already know what I'm gonna say, but let me say it one more. Let's see, once it's the third or fourth year, I'll say it. I just cannot continue to sit here and do the same thing that we've done over and over when I got a low-performing school that gets no help. I mean, it just, in my mind, maybe I think of it too simple, but it makes no sense to me to continue to pour money, and this is pouring some money, into some of these schools that aren't even near being a low-performing school. Yet we give them money, and we have a school that their scores are continually going out, and they have no tutors, they have no extra help from us, and the scenario for them just gets worse every year, and we just continue to not look the other way. We continue not to throw anything their way. I just got to get past that, which I can go and tell I never will, but that's where I'm coming from. I mean, you know, we have schools on here that are up here and getting money, and schools that are down here and getting nothing. It makes no sense to me at all.
Well, revision F is one where that particular school would get some.
I know, but there's pain for the other people. There's pain for and I'm not about to wreck everything for everybody else. I'm not that kind of person. But.
And the argument can be made that the reason some of them are doing so well is because they have the extra help and they have the tutors. So.
Well, actually, the argument can be made that because about 2 meetings ago, Greg brought to us what each principal was using their money for on Title I and how they felt about it, and each one of the principals put in a summary to us how much benefit it gave their school. So that's not an argument I have to come up with. That's an argument that the principals gave to me. They said it does. So there you go. It's great for your school, but we're not going to give you any money, so too bad for you. That's the point I'm trying to make. And this time it came from the principals, not me thinking about it.
That's right.
Okay, we'll look over it and give it a third shot. But I appreciate all the work you're doing. I mean, I know it's not, unless you got a personal checkbook you want to loan us, and it's not your problem.
I don't, and I wish that I did, and maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised, and we'll have an increase in the allocation, I don't know.
We can think positive.
We're more than glad to go back and think of some additional scenarios. We're more than glad to go back and prepare some additional scenarios.
And I will say, you have been more than willing to work with us, and I appreciate it. I do. Okay, we'll think about it and get back to it another day.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bus incident protocol. Don, just a real brief discussion on this right quick.
We have talked about this a good bit. It's one of those things that comes up anytime we have an unfortunate accident that involves one of our buses, and it involves the emergency management folks that are coming on scene and the other providers that are there, just making sure that we've got the protocol followed with students in terms of whether they transport to the hospital and whatnot. We've had Kim take a look at it from a legal perspective. We've had Glenn Mercer take a look at it at the county level, and the form that you see is a form that's been distributed around the county so that folks are going to follow that. The only thing that we wanted to add.
I think the only one I have is just the...
That's right. It's a refusal.
Just a refusal, the blank. The policy itself's not on here.
And that's...
If you scroll to the bottom, it's got some wording.
We try to put everything on one
You got
form
it.
as
This
much
is
as
the
we
same.
could.
You consolidated.
The other protocol referred to a form that's outdated now, so this is the form that we're looking at. And then Butch had asked at one point for us to be more descriptive of who the authorized individuals were, and that would be the superintendent, assistant superintendent, or transportation director. And that way you don't have another person who's just signing off. And this really helps protect us. It makes sure that they've communicated with the folks at the emergency room and that we're doing the kind of work on the scene that we need. So it's something that we've worked on. We've done it on the fly sometimes, but we wanted to make sure that everyone had the same form and the protocol would be followed in the event. Hopefully we don't ever have another one, but when we do, we'll have a common form that we're using.
Any comments?
You know, it looks very to the point. It looks cleaned up from where it was.
Does that work, Butch, for you?
Yes.
I mean, we were talking about it. That's what we needed.
My biggest concern was leaving it open to any school representative, anybody, a janitor could drive up and say, I'm a school representative and sign, and we just want to make sure we were properly covered.
Nails it down. 3. Okay. I mean, this isn't anything you need to bring back to us.
I just wanted you to see it, know that we've talked about it, so I wanted you to know we brought some closure
Any
to it.
last questions before we move on? Okay. Thanks, Don. Grants, and Mark, that's.
Yes, sir.
Wants to show us something? Or
We have 3 grants to, one that we've been awarded, Bright Futures, in partnership with Beaufort County Schools, has been awarded a grant of $5,000 from Wells Fargo Foundation to purchase additional food transport and service equipment for Beaufort County's USDA authorized summer food service program. The equipment will enable the expansion of the current summer nutrition program to more feeding sites, which will provide free breakfast and lunch to additional children in Beaufort County. So that's in addition to our summer feeding program. The next 2 are proposals. Beaufort County Schools has submitted a grant proposal to the North Carolina Arts Council requesting $8,000 to fund an artist residency at Washington High School in the spring of 2018. The title of this project is Life on the River, documenting a rural eastern North Carolina community. If funded, a local documentary filmmaker will help students enrolled in a filmmaking course create documentary films on topics of local interest. The films will be shared with Washington High School students and would eventually be screened at a film festival hosted by the Arts of the Pamlico in April of 2018. And then finally, the Arts of Pamlico, in partnership with Beaufort County Schools, has submitted a different grant proposal to North Carolina Arts Council requesting $6,500 to fund a week-long artist residency by puppeteer Hobby Ford during the 17-18 school year. The residency will include 2 stage performances of his puppet show and Amelia, along with professional development workshop for teachers and 14 classroom visits in Beaufort County Schools. The stage performances and teacher workshop would take place at the Turnage Theater.
Thank you. Actually, I think you're still up. You're going to give us an
Yes,
update on
just want to make the board aware. Jerry Wynn, our transportation director, brought this to Dr. Phipps to my attention, and just wanted to share with you. In the past, if you had a bus driver's license and you went to renew that bus driver's license, North Carolina DMV requested that you update them on any medications that you might be taking. If there are no changes, then everything continued on smoothly. If you made a change and you said, my doctor's prescribed X medicine for me now, then you were under a medical review to make sure that that medicine did not interfere with your ability to drive a school bus or any other heavy equipment. But while you were under that medical review, you could continue with the job unless there was some specific indication from your physician that says this medicine won't allow you to drive a bus. The change is that now, when our bus drivers go to renew and they indicate there's been some change, the medical review means they are immediately pulled from being able to drive a bus. And we just happen to have this happen with one of our bus drivers this week. It may happen in the future. And I wanted to make you aware because this is a 4 to 6 week process while those individuals prepare documentation and wait for NCDMV to review to make sure that this medicine doesn't harm, impair them from driving. But what it means for us is some folks who may be on some very innocuous medication that doesn't interfere at all aren't going to be able to drive for a month or so while we're going through this process. But again, this is coming straight from the state. This is not something that we certainly instituted. And I understand it's in the mind of safety. That's the point. But most of our folks went to the review with the documentation from their doctor saying, this doesn't interfere with me driving a bus. But that's not going to be the protocol we're under right now. So I just wanted you to be aware of it because you're going to see we're going to have to do some things where we have either emergency substitutes or doubling some routes or calling on some folks to drive that don't normally drive just to make it work.
Is there a way we can make the bus drivers aware that if they've got changes, they need to go ahead and get that going before they even renew?
You can't. I mean, even if they do, they still have to go through the review process, and that takes you're scheduled. You go in, you bring your medicines, you bring your documentation. There's no way to speed it up. In other words, you can't front load it. You have to wait until they call you in, and then you explain it.
Would that fall under if someone was put on an antibiotic, a 10-day antibiotic?
Any change.
Anything that's been added, even if it's temporary and innocuous?
That is correct.
How much trouble that's going to be.
Well, it'll only happen at renewal, so unless they're on that medication right at renewal, then.
Right. That is correct. I mean, but anytime you renew.
So
they don't have to notify someone that they.
It's when you renew. It's when you renew.
Just when you renew.
But our folks are all over the place in terms of when their years are up. You never know. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But since this is an action item and you're not asking us to vote, it doesn't really matter anyway, does it?
No, I'm just informing you because I didn't want you to think that we were taking people off the road. We are not.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't really matter, I guess, how much we think about it.
That's right.
It's going to happen.
I just want you to be aware.
And we appreciate that. But that does now carry us into the action items, and now we're going to jump over to Stan for a capital update. And I see some attachments, so let me go ahead and see if I can open those up.
Which one would you like us to go to first?
You don't have attachment.
Okay. Yeah, we've got,
Just the one update, the spreadsheet.
no, but we've got a Snowden.
Pictures.
Those are just the,
Yeah.
for later.
Just the
Got
capital
me
update.
Okay, that's
Correct.
correct. Gotcha. Capital update.
The only project that we did finish related to capital, most everything's scheduled to happen over the next couple of months, but we did finish the install of the air condition and the removal of the boilers here in the central office. That was completed about a week and a half ago. We did that kind of proactive so we wouldn't have so many people in those restrooms while we were renovating over Easter and have so many trades in there, so we were able to get that put in advance. And we have confirmed most all of our dates. Really, the only one I do not have a date on is the Eastern Elementary Intercom. We still hadn't got a confirmed date. They just promised by March, mid-March, so but they hadn't given us a date yet. Any questions about any projects?
No, but you're seeking approval on what?
It would be in closed session, just related to.
Only in closed session?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
Safety issue.
Well, I see it on here. It didn't look like it was, but that's fine. Okay, well then, why don't we go ahead and handle the next item and carry ourselves to closed session and take care of this?
That's it.
And ask you the questions over there. All right, thanks, Stan. Field trip approval.
We have two that are on here. The first one is trip 9997 from Washington. The 18th and 19th of March is an overnight trip to Greensboro with the FFA group going to the FFA mega conference. Washington will be getting, we'll be traveling with NERSBA, and we'll be riding the bus with NERSBA. We have two students going. We have plenty of chaperones. The next trip is 9999 from Washington, the 17th and 18th of March. Honors band members to UNC Pembroke with the Honors Band Clinic, and they will be picking up an additional male chaperone from Washington. So, and there'll be others that are there, so there are only two students, and they'll be taking a minivan.
Gotcha.
So I'd like to seek your approval on these two field trips.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any last questions? Looked like it was all self-explanatory. Everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Now that will carry us to a request for a closed session.
I move that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A1 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files under General Statute 115C-321 and to formulate and/or adopt school safety components of the school improvement plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We're in closed session.
Tours are going to be at noon.
All right.
Right.
We're back in open session, and we have two items. The first item I'll take is a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the personnel agenda we just discussed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to what was on that? Okay. And I need a motion to approve projects related to security.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I heard a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That carries us to the calendar. Is there anything different about the calendar?
We have work sessions, we have capital tours set up for tomorrow at Washington beginning at noon. And then Thursday, we'll get a north side attendance, when I say Washington, the Washington attendance area. And then north side attendance area, starting that at noon on Thursday as well.
We're going to meet at Eastern at noon?
Well, we depending on the direction we want to go, we could do Eastern, Talo, and Washington, or we can do Washington, whichever way we want to go.
Or where do you want to meet at? I don't care.
I think Eastern.
Let's start at Eastern.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
And again, we'll take a van if you want us to do that, and you can ride in the van if you'd like. I think we have at least one county commissioner who's joined us. Mr. Ed Booth was there with us yesterday.
Yep.
So we welcome anybody like that wants to come out and take a part of it, be a part of it.
Board member updates?
Can I ask you one thing? I need to jump ahead into April.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The April board meeting is scheduled during the week of Easter, which is during the Easter break for us, and had a request that I was asked to share with you all. We were supposed to meet on the 4th and on the 18th. Could we move our meetings to the 11th and 25th? They would still be on Tuesdays. And then I'd like to ask if we could do the 4th as a budget meeting, because I'm sure at that point, we'll know as much as we're going to find out for budget, and we'll be able to start to hash out some of the local current expense.
I have no problem. Anybody else? So you
The
still,
fourth what?
The 4th would be a budget meeting.
okay, at
What
5?
April 4th?
We could do that at 5 o'clock.
Okay, April 4th.
And then the 11th would be our work session at 5 o'clock, which is also on a Tuesday. And then the 18th is going to be during spring break, so the 25th we'd meet for our April board meeting. We do it at 5:30.
Okay, so the 4th at 5 budget, the 11th at 5 regular meeting, and the 25th our regular meeting at 5:30.
And this month, the extra meeting we have is on the 29th, and that's when we have the exit report that the folks from Advanced Ed will give based on what they've done with their work for the accreditation visit.
Is that the one you said you would be here?
I will not be there.
That's the one you wouldn't
That's
be
the
here. That's
State
what I thought.
superintendent's meeting with us for the
Right,
first
that's
time that
And that's
afternoon.
at 2 o'clock?
And it'll be a short meeting, very short.
That's what I thought. It was. Making sure.
5:30. Yes. Usually the last one in the morning.
Okay.
is 5:30.
Okay.
Right. And Lisa send all this out and keep us all straight like she always
The
does.
4th, 11th, and the
Okay, now board member updates. Anyone have anything to share? Superintendent updates.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, go ahead.
I got a couple things. This past weekend, I just want to commend the students at Bath School. I went to see the performance of Aladdin Saturday night. They did a fantastic job. So the staff and students and everybody that had a part in that was just a great show. And then congratulations to the Northside High School Science Olympiad team. They won regional competition as a team. There was also several students that finished very well. I'm not going to mention any names on that because I don't know them all. And then the Athletic Edge in Washington hosted special needs students from the county on Friday with a winter carnival, and I was asked to be a part of that and play music for it, and it was a fantastic event. It was very well received. I think the kids had a great time, and the Honor Society students, or some of the Honor Society students from Washington High School volunteered at that too, and they were a big help and a great, it was just a great event, so special thanks to them for hosting that event.
Have you mentioned, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, on your meeting on the 21st, just remind everybody that you're going to have an outside guest. The Young Farmer Program here in Beaufort County is going to provide the refreshments for the board meeting that night. And they would like to speak to the board before you indulge into the refreshments. And then they're going to get out, and then y'all can eat all you want.
I think for food, we can let them talk.
Anyway, they're doing this as part of their community service project.
That's great. Thanks, Matt, for helping with that.
I will thank them when they get it.
Anything, have we mentioned the Washington swim team?
We did.
We mentioned that, but we haven't had them come in.
They're coming at next meeting.
Okay, good. We'll have them at next meeting. Superintendent updates?
Butch took a couple of mine, but I want to mention, the accreditation is going to happen at the last week in the month of March. And again, you all will be involved, but we've done a lot of work. Michelle Oros has taken the lead with that to get all of our documents and things put in place. But that's one of those things that you really build up a lot of anticipation, and then you excel when it's over with. So we're glad that March is upon us so that we can get through this. But we expect to have an opportunity to showcase, and then out of it, I'm sure there'll be some learning things that we can improve on as we move forward.
Okay. All right. Anything else needs to be said? Sounds like a wrap then.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion, a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.